now. So we will have 10 minutes of question and answer session at the end of the presentation. But during the presentation, if you have a question, you can also put it in the chat. So for those who are not familiar with the WaterWise Hub project, it is a EU Horizon funded project, and it aspires to create an excellence hub for water in the circular economy. It supports smart and innovative water management solutions for Europe's widening countries. You can know more about our project from the website waterwisehub.eu. I will just put a link to this. Many of you are, of course, already aware of the project. So now I'm going to hand over to Vasilis Bellos, who will introduce today's speaker. Over to you, Vasilis, sorry.
Thank you very much, Nev. Because before we start, they noticed me that there are people waiting in the lobby. So if you are able, just check. No, it's okay. We can start now.
Yeah.
Hello, I am Vasilis Bellos. I am assistant professor in the Department of Environmental Engineering of Democritus University of Thrace, and I have a double affiliation. I also work as a researcher in the National Technical University of Athens. Today, we are going to talk about industrial symbiosis, which is a hot topic for the circular economy. And it is the synergy between the industrial world to exchange water, energy, and materials. Specifically, Dr. Otto Chen will give a presentation for a simulation framework he has developed to design support decision-making in this context. Otto is a principal water consultant at the Standard Company. And before he's working in this company, he was a postdoctoral research fellow at the University of Exeter's Center for Water System on the Ultimate Project. Otto, the floor is yours. After your presentation, we will collect some questions. Either you can raise your hand and discuss this topic, or you can write a question in the chat. The floor is yours, Otto.
Thank you both. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. My name is Otto Chen from the University of Exeter. Today, I'm going to present our work on hybrid modeling framework for supporting decision-making in industry symbiosis, developed as part of the EU Horizon 2020 Ultimate project. This is a collaborative effort with colleagues from Exeter University and KWR. What I'm trying to do today is not just present a model, but explain how we can better support real-world decisions in complex water reuse systems. Let me start by outlining what I will cover. First, we propose a framework that explicitly captures how industrial symbiosis forms over time, especially focusing on stakeholder participation. Second, we combine multiple modeling techniques because no single method can fully represent this kind of system. Third, the framework evaluates both individual business performance and overall system performance, which is critical in collaborative systems. And finally, we apply this framework to 3 real case studies, which I will walk you through today, with the Dutch greenhouse case as the main focus. Industry symbiosis is not just a technical problem. It's fundamentally a complex system problem. You have multiple stakeholders, each with their own objectives, constraints, and behaviors. The system evolves over time. Benefits don't appear immediately, and priorities can change. Perhaps most importantly, the success of the system depends on who participates and when they participate. And all of this is underpinned by nonlinear dynamics and feedback loops. For example, the more participants there are, the cheaper the system becomes, which attracts more participants. So we are dealing with what we call a complex adaptive system. This complexity raises two very important questions. First, what actually makes an industry symbiosis system successful and sustainable over time? And second, since the system relies on collaboration, what sustains the collective advantage rather than just individual benefits? These questions are difficult to answer without modeling both technical process and stakeholder behavior together. To address this, we combine four different modeling approaches. First, discrete event simulation, which models operation processes, for example, water flows and treatment systems. Second, agent-based simulation, where each business is modeled as an independent decision-making agent. Third, system dynamics, which captures feedback loops such as cost reductions as more users join. And fourth, multi-criteria decision analysis, or MCDA, which helps represent how stakeholders balance multiple factors when making decisions. Each method captures a different part of the system, and by combining them, we get a much more realistic representation. This leads to our framework of for the symbiotic water cycle, or you can call it FSWC. The framework has three core components. First, symbiosis operation, which represents the physical system. Second, symbiosis participation dynamics, which captures stakeholder decisions. And third, symbiosis evaluation, which assesses outcomes over time. The key idea is that these components are interconnected and evolve together. Participation is really at the heart of this framework. Each business evaluates whether to join based on several criteria, including economic, social, operational, and legal factors. For example, cost advantage, peer influence, resource availability, and regulatory compliance. These are integrated using MCDA to generate a willingness to join score, which changes over time. The score then drives decisions in the agent-based model. The slide illustrates how the system works as a whole. Operational performance affects stakeholder perceptions. Those perceptions influence decisions on participation, and participation feeds back into the system by changing scale, cost, and resource flows. So what we have is a continuous feedback loop, capturing co-evaluation between the systems and its actors. The process of modeling starts by clearly defining the system and the stakeholders. We need to understand what the system includes, who the key actors are, and recognize that it operates at two levels: individual business at the local level and the collective system at the global level. Once the system is defined, the next step is to collect data. This includes operational data such as water use or infrastructure, as well as survey data that captures stakeholder preferences. The surveys are particularly important because they tell us what decision criteria matter, to stakeholders and how important each one is. With this information, we can then build the core of the framework, which consists of three components: the operational model that represents physical process, the partitional model that captures how businesses decide to join or not, and the performance model that evaluates how well an overall system is functioning. After that, we developed the individual modeling techniques. We use simulation to represent operations, agent-based modeling to represent decision-making entities, system dynamics to capture feedback over time, and decision analysis to combine multiple criteria into a single decision outcome. The key step is then to integrate all of these components together. Operations affect systems performance. Performance influence decisions, and these decisions in turn change participant, patient, and system behavior. This creates continuous feedback loops between the individual and the collective levels. Once the integrated model is built, we run it over time. At each stage, the system performance is updated. Agents reassess their willingness to participate, and the level of the participation changes. This allows the system to evolve dynamically with business joining or leaving over time. We can then use the model to test different scenarios, such as alternative operational strategies, pricing policies, or external conditions like climate change, and compare their performance. Finally, we analyze the results to identify the best performing strategies, key trade-offs, and main drivers of performance, which can then inform real-world decisions. Overall, the process moved from understanding stakeholders and data to build and integrating models of operational behavior and performance. And finally, using the integrated system to test scenarios and support complex decision making. This case study looks at a greenhouse cluster in the Netherlands, where many growers operate independently but are located close to each other. Even though they are physically close, they traditionally manage their own water systems separately. The first major challenge they face is regulation pressure. By 2027, all greenhouses are required to achieve zero wastewater discharge, meaning they can no longer release untreated water into the environment. The second challenge is water scarcity. The region already experiences water shortage during dry seasons, and climate change is expected to make this worse by reducing rainfall and increasing evaporation. The third issue is that the current approach is individual and inefficient. Each greenhouse manages its own system, which leads to higher cost, duplicated infrastructure, and limited opportunity for water reuse. To address these challenges, the study proposed industrial symbiosis as a collective solution. Instead of each greenhouse treating wastewater individually, they share a central wastewater treatment plant. This enables several benefits. Wastewater can be treated and reused, resources can be shared across the network, and dependencies on fresh water is reduced. It also creates economies of scale. As more participants join, the total volume treated increases, which helps reduce the cost per unit of treatment. Importantly, this shared system helps solve both key challenges at once. It supports compliance with the zero discharge regulation, and it improves water availability under climate change stress. Finally, it's important to emphasize that this is not just a technical solution, it is also collaborative. The success of the system depends on whether multiple greenhouses choose to participate and benefit from shared infrastructure and resource exchange. Overall, the greenhouse case is driven by regulation pressure and water scarcity, and industrial symbiosis provides a collective, secure solution to enable water reuse, reduce costs, and improve long-term sustainability under climate change. And then the conceptual model of this case study. At the local level, we have individual greenhouses, each acting as an agent. At the global level, we have the shared symbiosis system, which is mainly the collective wastewater treatment plant, or WTP. Each greenhouse is modeled as its own system. It includes processes such as rainfall collection, storage, irrigation, internal recycling, and wastewater discharge. All of these physical processes are represented using simulation of operations. At the same time, the shared WTP operates at the global level. It collects wastewater from the greenhouse, treated it, and then redistributed the treated water back for reuse. On top of the structure, the model brings together three key components. The first is the operational module, which represents how water flows through the system, both within each greenhouse and through the shared treatment plant. The second is the participation module, where each greenhouse decides whether to join the symbiosis. This decision depends on factors like cost, peer influence, resource benefits, and regulation compliance. The third is the performance module, which evaluates how well the overall system is performing, for example, in terms of cost, water use, and environmental impact. The most important idea is how these components interact. What happens in the individual greenhouse affect the overall system performance. In turn, system performance feeds back into each greenhouse decision on whether to join. As more participants join, more wastewater is treated, which reduces the cost per unit. This makes the system more attractive and encourage even more participants to join. So the model captures a dynamic feedback loop over time. Participation changes year by year, and system performance improves as the system grows. These two aspects continuously influence each other. Finally, different modeling approach interact within the system. Operational models, DS, represent the physical water exchange. Dynamic models represent how system performance influence behavior, and agent decision determines who participant at each time. In simple terms, the conceptual model links operations, performance, and decision-making across individual business and the shared system, allowing the whole symbiosis to evolve dynamically over time. The upper right side is the shows 6 criteria. Each greenhouse decide whether to join the system based on 6 key factors such as cost, peer influence, resource benefits, contract, and regulation compliance. For each factor, there are 2 parts: how important it is, which comes from the survey, and how well the system is performing on the factor at the moment. The model continuously updates these scores over time. For example, if treatment becomes cheaper, the cost benefit improves. If more businesses join, peer influence and group benefits increase. All 6 factors are then combined into one overall willingness to join score. If that score is high enough, the greenhouse joins. If not, it stays out. The key idea is that system performance and individual decisions are connected. At the global level, the model calculates things like treatment cost, number of users, and total treatment water. These results then influence the 6 decision factors for each greenhouse. Each greenhouse updates its willingness. Some decide to join, and this changes the system again. For example, more participants mean more wastewater treated, which reduces cost further. So there is a continuous feedback loop. The survey plays an important role here. It defines what stakeholders care about and how important each factor is. It also provides baseline information such as water use and preference for DES process modeling. Where data is missing, expert judgment is used to estimate value based on characteristics like size and demand. And this shows the pictures when model is running. The upper left is you can see lots of it's a cluster of greenhouse, and if they join, they will send water to this collective WTP to be treated and sent back for reuse. This is global level, so we can see here here are some 5 criteria, also using MCDA and also its weight, and this is for making the final score. As we run several times to test different scenarios, we use this final score to compare between different scenarios, which scenario is preferred. And so who identify these criteria are decision makers of the collective level. And this is the performance of the global level, and including like this is the system dynamics of the global level, and it will feedback to the individual level. This is individual like greenhouse number 23 with system dynamics to model the 6 KPIs, which is the legal compliance, the kind of 6 KPIs to decide whether it will join or not. And it uses a system dynamic combined with agent-based model to make decision whether to join. And this is the distant DES model to simulate the process of the internal water treatment process before it joined this one. This one is the collective WTP. So without join, it still have internal process. When it join, it will send water to be treated here, and then after treated, it will send back for reuse. Scenarios, we analyze different scenarios using multiple key performance indicators in global level, including the year when zero emission is achieved, the number of water shortage days, and the total use of tap water. Together, these provide a comprehensive view of system performance as the final score. The model tests a range of scenarios, exploring how how industrial symbiosis perform under different conditions of participation, environment, and system design. This model tests different groups of scenarios in 3 main parts, part A, B, C, to understand how industrial symbiosis perform under different conditions. So overall, these 3 parts together show how climate conditions, system design, and stakeholder behavior interact to determine whether industrial symbiosis is successful and sustainable. Part A looks at the basic comparison. We compare situations where there is no symbiosis against situations where all participants participants join the symbiosis from the beginning. Each of these is tested under both normal conditions and climate change conditions. The goal here is to answer a question: how much benefit does symbiosis actually provide? In particular, we look at water use, storage levels, and reliance on external water resources like tap water. This helps us understand how symbiosis can improve water security, especially when climate change increases water scarcity. So part A mainly shows the overall value of having a symbiosis system. The key finding is that symbiosis significantly improves water availability and reduces stress. Interestingly, the benefits are even greater under climate change conditions. Part B focuses on how the system is designed, especially how water is reduced. Here we test 6 different water reuse strategies. For example, water can be shared equally among users. It can be distributed based on how much each users contribute, or it can be prioritized based on who has the biggest water deficit. At the same time, participation is dynamic, meaning not everyone joins at the start, and more users can join over time. This part helps us understand how different policies influence whether stakeholders are willing to join. The key idea is that better policies can attract more participants, and more participants improve the system's performance. So part B is really about finding which design works best to encourage participation and efficiency. Part C takes the best performing water reuse strategy from Part B and looks at different participation conditions. Here we compare cases where everyone joins from the start, cases where only a few join initially and others join gradually, and cases where participants are allowed to leave the system. This allows us to explore how participation behavior, joining and leaving affects long-term results. The main takeaway is that participation dynamics matter, but overall system performance depends more on having attractive policies and benefits than on strict participation rules. So now is the second case study. Is the first. Sorry. Yeah. The first key finding is that industrial symbiosis clearly improves overall performance compared to individual greenhouse operation. The shared system reduces reliance on both tap water and rainwater, improves water security, and enables all participants to reach zero wastewater discharge. Secondly, climate changes increase pressure on the system, mainly through higher water demand and more frequent shortage. However, the important insight is that symbiosis become more valuable under these conditions because water reuse helps offset the increased stress. Another critical finding is the role of the participation dynamics. The faster greenhouse adopt the system, the quicker the network achieves zero discharge and better performance. Early adopters, especially large users, play a key role in driving these benefits. In terms of system design, the best performing option is the flexible water reuse strategy. This approach allows treated water to be allocated or sold based on demand, which improves both system efficiency and participation growth. On the other hand, rigid rules reduce attractiveness, forcing all users to take back water or discharge unused water leads to lower participation and worse system outcomes. Finally, allowing users to leave the system has very limited impact on performance. This suggests that participation is mainly driven by the overall benefits of the system rather than strict contractual conditions. Why hybrid modeling is needed for this case? The greenhouse system is complex and interconnected, involving physical water flows like treatment and reuse, and individual business decisions, joint or not, and system-wide effects like cost, participation, and performance. Key reasons, the findings, for example, participation growth, better reuse strategy, or climate change benefits, all rely on feedback loops. More participants will lead to lower treatment cost, lead to encourage more participants. So we can see a single model cannot capture this interaction. So now I'm presenting the second case study focused on olive meal wastewater in Israel. The case study processed a symbiosis system using advanced treatment and transport logistics because of the current situation is both environmentally and operationally inefficient. First, the wastewater in this case study is highly polluted and difficult to treat. It typically contains high organic load, oils, and other contaminants, which makes conventional treatment either ineffective or very expensive at the individual facility level. As a result, many facilities rely on poor practice, such as uncontrolled discharge or temporary solutions that can harm the environment. Second, there is a strong lack of suitable infrastructure. In many cases, existing sewer systems are not designed to handle this type of wastewater, or they are not accessible to all producers. This makes it difficult to transport wastewater to treatment facility using traditional networks. Because of these challenges, treating wastewater individually is inefficient, costly, and often unsustainable. To address this, the study proposed a symbiotic system where multiple producers collaborate. The idea is to use advanced treatment technologies which are more effective but require larger scale to be economically viable, and transport logistics such as tankers or mobile collection systems to connect dispersed source to shared treatment facilities. In addition to proposing a symbiotic system with advanced treatment and transport logistics, this study also shows why hybrid modeling is particularly valuable for decision-making in this case. The key reason is that this system is not just a technical problem, it's a complex social-technical system. On the other hand, we have technical aspects such as wastewater treatment process, transport logistics, storage capacity, and operational cost. These need to be analyzed in detail to understand feasibility and efficiency. On the other hand, we also have behavioral aspect because multiple independent producers are involved. Each participant needs to decide whether to join the system, which means whether to comply with the regulation policy, whether to join, whether the costs are acceptable, and whether the benefits are worth it. At the same time, there are system-level dynamics such as economies of scale as more users join, changes in cost over time, and feedback between participation and performance. A single modeling method cannot capture all these aspects effectively. This is why the study used hybrid modeling approach. This provides a major advantage for decision making. It allows stakeholders to test the different system designs, such as centralized or distributed treatment, and allows stakeholders to evaluate logistics strategies like tanker transport or infrastructure investment, and understand participation risks, including whether enough users will join, and compare trade-offs between cost, environmental performance, and feasibility. In short terms, hybrid modeling helps decision-making makers see not only how the system performs technically, but also whether it will work in practice with real stakeholder making decisions over time. Similarly, the olive oil case model is built around two levels: a local level which each business operates, and a global level which represents the overall symbiosis system. At the local level, each business is modeled as an agent. It has its own wastewater generation and its own decision making, meaning it can choose whether to join or leave the system over time. The system also includes tanker or mobile unit agents, which handle logistics and move treatment capacity between locations. The model combines three main parts. Firstly, as operation model that simulate treatment process and logistics. Second, participation model, and the third, performance model. These parts are connected through feedback loops. For example, more users mean more wastewater treated, which lower cost and attract even more users. On the other hand, if performance is poor, satisfaction drops and some users may leave. The system evolves year by year, so participation cost and performance all change dynamically over time. And what's the scenarios to be tested? First group, set one, system design and policy. The first group of scenario looks at how the system is designed and supported. We test two main factors here. First, the system layout, comparing a centralized approach with one treatment plan and a distributed approach with 4 treatment plans. Second, we test different subsidy duration from no subsidy up to 5 years. The idea is to understand how infrastructure decisions and financial incentives influence both participation of olive mills and overall system performance. In simple terms, this group helps answer what is the best combination of system design and policy support. Second group is set 2, operational capacity. This group focuses on how the system operates in practice, especially the transport system. Here we test different tanker fleet configurations, including all large tankers, or it's a mix of large and small tankers, or they are all small tankers. Even with the same number of vehicles, their capacity is very different, which directly affects how efficiently wastewater can be collected. This group helps answer, can the system actually work reliably with realistic transport capacity? While the scenarios are important, together these scenarios reflect the real decision challenges. The local authority needs to decide how long treatment plans to build, how long to provide subsidies, and how to ensure sufficient transport capacity. And all these factors are interconnected and affect both participation and performance over time. So overall, the model tests 2 key scenarios groups: system design and policy, and operational capacity, to understand how infrastructure, incentives, and logistics together determine whether the symbiosis system can succeed in practice. This is the showing five reservoirs and the tankers to collect from the the business. And this is the agent view for the business number 12. So similarly, it has 6 KPIs for participation from agent-based model here, and using the system dynamic to define the score to join or not, and their internal water system process. Key findings for this case study. First, the results show that initial financial support is critical. A moderate subsidy period around 3 years performs best. It is long enough to encourage business to join the system, but not too long to create unnecessary financial burden for the government. Extending subsidies beyond this does not significantly improve participation, but it reduces overall financial performance. Second, the result highlights the importance of system design. A distributed system with multiple treatment plants generally performs better than only one centralized system, mainly because it reduces transport distance and costs, which makes participants more attractive. Third, and more importantly, transport capacity is a critical factor. Even if the system is well designed and supported by subsidies, insufficient tanker capacity can cause the system to fail. For example, wastewater may not be collected in time. This leads to illegal discharge and eventually cause business to lose trust and drop out. In fact, transport capacity has a stronger impact on system performance than subsidy or infrastructure design. Overall, the key message from this finding is success depends on balance of the policy support, infrastructure design, and operational capacity. And we saw a hybrid modeling approach it's difficult to analyze in one modeling with all these aspects. The third case study here focuses on food processing industry in Greece, where operations are highly seasonal. The main challenge is that wastewater is produced only during short harvest period, but in very large volume. For the rest of the year, production is rather low, so wastewater generation is minimal. This creates a mismatch between demand and infrastructure of treatment. Building permanent treatment plants is very expensive, but they would be underused most of the time, making them inefficient for individual business. On top of that, the wastewater is often high strength and costly to treat, and there's also regulatory pressure to manage it properly. To solve this, the study proposed industrial symbiosis using mobile rental treatment unit. Instead of building fixed plants, business can rent treatment units only when they need it. And this unit can be shared across locations and time. This makes the systems much more flexible. Treatment capacity matches when and where the demand occurs, and businesses avoid investing in equipment that sits idle most of the year. It also creates a service-based model where a provider manages the units and multiple industrial benefits from shared infrastructure. Overall, this approach leads to lower cost, better use of equipment, regulatory compliance, and more opportunity for water reuse. Unlike the greenhouse case with fixed infrastructure, this system is driven by strong seasonality, so flexibility through mobile rental units service is a key solution. We want to test. From the perspective of the service provider operating mobile treatment units, the key objective is to design an efficient and profitable service. To support this, we define several types of scenarios to test in the model. Firstly, we need to explore investment decisions. How many mobile treatment units should we invest in? And importantly, when should we expand capacity over time? This helps us balance between meeting demand and avoiding investment. Second, we need to test booking and allocation strategies. Should we assign one unit per customer or allow multiple units at the same time for a larger customer? This is a trade-off between high utilization of mobile unit and customer satisfaction and service quality. Third, we consider logistics and infrastructure decisions, such as whether to operate from a single depot or introduce additional depots to reduce travel time and improve responsiveness. By combining these elements, the scenarios allow us to test operational efficiency, cost and profitability, service performance, and customer uptake. These scenario types help us evaluate how different investment, operational, and logistic decisions impact the overall performance of the mobile treatment service before making real-world commitment. What the scenarios are testing, as previously mentioned, I think I'm running out of time, so I'm not digging too much with this. And similarly, this is the global view and also the agent view of the client, and with similarly with system dynamics for 6 KPIs and agent-based to use the final score to decide whether to join, and also its own internal process from DES model. And this is the agent mobile unit view agent. So it has to collect water and store in its tank. It's a tanker unit, and then release with agent-based model to do the surveys for logistic. The results show the operational strategy is the most important factor. In particular, the scenario with long service duration and multiple units per client perform best overall, giving higher profitability and better system performance. Providing multiple units to one client improves treatment coverage and service quality, which makes the service more attractive and increase long-term adoption. On the other hand, short duration jobs are not always efficient because travel and logistic cost can overweight the benefit. Longer service period can help improve utilization and overall performance. The model also shows there is an optimal number of units. Too few units lead to unmet demand, while too many increased costs. A balanced level of investment gives the best results. Financial strategy is also important. Having more initial capital reduce borrowing cost and helps the business grow more sustainability. Pricing introduce a clear trade-off. Higher price increase revenue per job, but they can reduce customer demand, so a balance is needed. For logistics, adding more depots can improve operations, but only if the benefits are larger than the extra cost. overall, the best system is not based on one decision. It comes from balancing operations, investment, pricing, and logistics together. Hybrid modeling is essential because these outcomes depends on interactions between logistics, customer behavior, and financial dynamics, which cannot be captured by a single modeling method. To summarize, this work contributes both methodologically and practically. From a methodological perspective, it develops a hybrid modeling framework that integrates simulations approaches and also decision analysis. From a practical perspective, it demonstrates how this framework can be applied to real-world industrial symbiosis cases, supporting decision-making under complexity. Importantly, the framework captures both technical performance and human decision-making, which are both essential for understanding how these systems actually work. Beyond industrial symbiosis, a key insight is that this framework is more generalizable. It can be applied to systems where there is a dual structure, including individual entities with their own preference and objective, and a collective system with its own performance goals and decision criteria. In this type of systems, individual agents evaluate decision based on their own benefit and constraints, while the collective system evolves based on overall performance, efficiency, and shared outcomes. This creates a two-level decision-making problem, which the hybrid model is specially designed to capture. So the value of this framework is not limited to industrial symbiosis. It is applicable to any system where individual behavior and collective performance interact dynamically, such as shared infrastructure, collaborative networks, or service-based business models. Thank you. I think I'm running, out of time.
Thank you.
The rest of time.
Thank you very much, Otto, for
questions.
Thank you very much for the interesting presentation. We have time for a couple of questions, 10 or 15 minutes. I will start with, before giving the floor to the people there, with two questions coming from the chat. The first question is by Beatrice, and she asks about what methodology was used to derive the MCDA KPI weights? Was there a pairwise comparison matrix, expert survey, or stakeholder-based weighting process behind these values? Also, are these weights fixed or do they change dynamically during the simulations?
Yeah, that's a very important question. Yeah, the 6 KPIs for each case study, we need to identify what's the most important and representative KPIs. So basically, different case study will have different KPIs, and we use a survey, interview the stakeholders, the potential participants, to ask them whether these factors are important for their decision making, and then also using the survey to understand the preference of the relative importance of these KPIs, which is weight. So the weight, each business will have different view on its weight, even though they all agree these 6 KPIs. So business A and business B, they use different set of the weight. But during the simulation, for example, we simulate, for example, 16 years. And within these 15 years, business A will always use the same weight, while the score of this six PCI will changes over time. Did I answer your question?
I don't, yeah, Beatrice is thanking you. She's covered. Now, the next question is by David, who asks about the case study of the Dutch greenhouse.
Yep.
Did you consider who might build, own, and/or operate the central treatment plant, and what sort of guarantees there might have to be for costs of both treatment and resupply of treated water back to participants? What assumptions were made about this?
Oh, the case study begins when we approach the collaborative, and the collaborative is the is to represent these 36 greenhouses. So the way we do is to help them understand what's their demands. They individually they have their own internal water reuse system and treatment process, but to a certain level, and the rest of the water they will just discharge at the moment. But because of the regulation 2027 zero emission, they hope they can have a better treated water before discharge. But they can't do that individually because it's too expensive. That's why we want to understand their demand. They hope they can work as a collaborative to build a facility to treat their untreated water and send their untreated water into the collective treatment to be treated and then discharge it or reuse it. Since the 36 greenhouse, they have different crops. So the challenge is also how this collective facility can treat all the different wastewater from these different greenhouses and into a quality that can be reused for all of them. So some may find it's not that good quality for them to use, and some may find it's good quality enough because they are growing different crops. So this is the challenging, and this will also affect how they are happy to take back the treated water to use again. So all this is considered in this simulation modeling, and whether guarantees. So the about the guarantees, I think this is related to contractual conditions. So we also modeling contractual conditions into consideration. That's why we use hybrid modeling, because we can cover not just environmental and not just cover the water quantity and not just cover the reuse strategy. We can also consider the contractual aspect, like whether this contractual is attractive or secure for them to join or not. Yeah. Hope I answered this question.
Thank you very much, Otto. I think we have thumbs up by David, so he's covered. So now, since there are no questions in the chat, I want to ask the people if they want to make a question or discuss something. Okay, I will ask something.
Yes,
Is this methodology framework able to capture to be implemented in the national scale, or it is limited only in a small county or regional scale, let's say?
yeah, that's a good question. I think one important concept of the symbiosis is to utilize the advantage of businesses are located close to each other, not too far away. So basically, you can see these three case studies shows is kind of a regional scale for business to run. And if it's like the first case study, greenhouse is stable infrastructure, so it would not be far away because it's connected by pipe. That kind of idea. If that's related to logistic, it can span wider, but still on regional basis.
Thank you very much. I think I'm covered as well. So, since there is no other question, I would like to thank again Otto for this very interesting topic. And I'm giving the floor to Nav to conclude this webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vasilis, and thank you, Otto, for this excellent talk. I mean, it spans one framework and applied to 3 different case studies. This is really excellent. In the chat, I have I have put the links for all the 3 papers. So the last thing I want to say is that the next webinar, WaterWise Hub webinar, is confirmed for the 21st of July. And it will be based on, will be presented by the Boost-In project, which is one of our sister projects on the uptake of innovative water circular economy solutions. So with that, I thank you all for joining the talk. And again, as I mentioned at the start, the talk has been recorded and it will soon be available to view over YouTube. Thank you all. Have a great week ahead.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.